Hey guys, welcome back to my channel once again. My name is Ayush, and in this video, we are going to solve the second medium level question that was asked in the SQL hackathon conducted on the NamasteSQL platform. Now, before we begin, just a small note from my side that I'm really sorry, guys, that I have not been posting videos regularly on this channel for quite a few days. There were certain reasons because of which I was not able to do so, but right now I am back and I will be posting regularly on this channel, or rather, I would try to do so. I will do my best to upload regularly and bring amazing content for you guys, just like I was doing before. Okay, with this, let's get started. Now, for the second question, or rather I should say, for the first question, I have already solved it. You can check out my YouTube channel after watching this video. Okay, please watch this video till the end, and then only you can go to my YouTube channel. There you can see the latest video which I had uploaded 6 days ago as of today, and you can see this video, after which you will be able to solve two medium level questions that was asked in this SQL hackathon. Okay, from where did I get these questions? You can visit the Namaste SQL site, and when you go to the courses, you will and visit this live bootcamp part. You can start with the Namaste SQL challenge. I have already attempted this challenge, and there are only two retakes that you can take for this test. Okay, so if you are planning to take these questions or attempt these questions under a time pressure or under a specific platform, which is this one, then you need to make sure that there are only two retakes that you are allowed. After your two retakes are completed, you won't be able to attempt any question. Okay, but for you guys, there is nothing to worry because I have uploaded all these questions. I have extracted all these questions from this hackathon and uploaded to my Notion. So right now we will jump to our Notion page and see the questions. Okay. So here are the all the hackathon questions from the SQL hackathon challenge that we just right now saw. And from all these, I have solved the second question, which is the silent bestsellers one, of which I showed you the video on my channel as well. Okay, you can visit this after watching this video. Okay, because this is a very interesting question, and you will really love enjoying. You will really love solving this question because there are a lot of things that you will learn. Okay, we will be only using one window function, but we will use it in several ways that will help you to understand this particular window function more. Okay, we will now solve the second medium level question of this hackathon, which is the warehousing question. This is the warehousing question. We will read this question first, understand the question, and then we will move to our PG admin to solve this question. Okay, the question goes, you work at a 24 by 7 logistics company that operates in shifts. Each shift has an opening stock and a closing stock. The closing stock of one shift should match with the opening stock of the next shift. When they don't match, it indicates a handover discrepancy. The operation teams wants to identify all discrepancies, understand their impact, and flag the worst handover per warehouse. Okay, a classic case of warehousing, right? If you have ever visited a warehouse, or if your father owns a factory, or if you are from a commerce background, or even if you have learned the concept of inventory management, you must have understood what this question is asking about, right? If you have not been through any of these situations, then let me first explain what the concept of opening stock and closing stock is with a very small example. This won't take a lot of time, okay, but this is a very important concept to understand if, let's say, the next job that you are applying to is in the field of supply chain analytics. Okay, now assume that you have a factory. Today you started a factory which produces ballpoint pens. Okay, you can choose the color whatever you want, blue or black or red or whatever it is. Now, your factory produces ballpoint pens and it has the capacity to produce 200 pens every day. Okay, you lay down a factory on day zero. On day one, you started your production, and on day one, you produced 180 ballpoint pens. Okay, it is very rare that any factory performs at its 100% capacity level, 100% output levels. So let's assume that on day one, you produce 180 pens. Now, by the time your shift completed, by the time the working hours of the factory completed, you transferred your output, which is that 180 ballpoint pens, from your factory to your warehouse. Okay, for efficient storage. Okay, because it's not likely that, right, that you will produce your pens and keep it in the same way. Otherwise, it will create a blockage and you won't be able to produce more pens. Right, now you transfer these pens to your warehouse. Right, next day, on day two, you go back to your factory again, you start your productions, your staff comes in and helps in the production process, and by the end of day 2 you produce 160 pens. Okay, now you transfer all these pens from your factory to warehouse again, and on day 3 you come back. Now on day 3 you check the inventory, you see that there are only 300 pens available in your warehouse. Rather, there should have been 180 plus 160. 180 on day 1 and 160 on day 2. These many number of pens, which totals to 100, 340 pens. But you see there are only 300 pens, right? And you know that there has been no sale in these 2 days. Now, what is the reason for this? Where did those 40 pens go? How did this problem occur? First of all, this gap of 40 pence is called as discrepancy, or rather specifically, it is called as a handover discrepancy. Okay. Second, what is happening here is the gap of 40 pence can be caused due to various reasons. For example, your staff might have stolen it, or during the transit from your factory to your warehouse, it was stolen by some gunda or some dakat or whatever, or maybe during the transit 40 pence was lost normally due to some various reasons, right? Now this is a huge loss. You have lost 40 pence of your production. Whatever the cost of production is, you will have to bear it on your own, and or rather you will have to extract it or recover it from the profits that you generate from the leftover pence, right? So this handover discrepancy is something that factories do not like, and it becomes very important to analyze these. Okay, I hope you understood the concept of discrepancy. Now, for closing stock and opening stock, on day 1 you produced 180 pence. Now on day 2, or rather the end of day 1, the 180 pence in your warehouse becomes your closing stock, or rather the stock which is left at the end of the working hour of your factory. Okay, the next day that same 180 pence will be considered as opening stock, or the stock which is there with you in the beginning of the working hours of your factory. Okay, similarly, by the end of the day 2, in which you had in which you had produced 160 pens, overall you were supposed to have 340 pens as your closing stock, right? But on day 3 in the morning, when you see that there are only 300 pens, this time this 300 pens becomes your opening stock of day 3. Okay, so this is how the concept of opening stock and closing stock revolves, and the difference between them, if exists, is called as discrepancy. Okay, so now let's look at the question. What are they asking, the constraints or traps? And then we will jump to our PG admin to solve this question. So we have the table shifts. These are the columns. We have the create and insert statements here. Again, I will put these create and insert statements in my description box. So after understanding the question, it is my humble request to you guys to please solve this question on your own. Let me tell you, it is not that difficult. Medium level questions are asked regularly in interviews, and you should be able to solve this question very easily. Like, it is not that much difficult, right? There is only one single window function that can solve this entire question, and that will be used in multiple ways. But again, you should have the knowledge of this window function that I'm talking about, and you should know how to use it in various situations. Okay, so again, check the description box. You will see these statements and solve this question before watching my solution. Okay, even if you're not able to solve it, that's completely fine. Why? Because not able to solve the question, but trying to solve the question and then watching the solution is way better, is 100 times better than not at all solving the question and then watching the solution. Okay, because when you solve when you try to solve and then watch the solution, the concept, the logic, and the how to write the code, the process is retained in much better manner. Okay, you become more serious towards retaining that particular information, right? So with this thought, let's continue. The ask is to find all handover discrepancies, and we have to find certain specific columns: warehouse ID, outgoing shift ID, incoming shift ID, closing stock, opening stock, discrepancy, so on and so forth. Okay, we will see this while we will solve our question. We have certain constraints and traps here. The constraint is only compare shifts with consecutive within the same shifts consecutive within the same warehouse. Okay, skip terminal shifts, no next shift, and skip clean handovers wherein the difference between closing stock and opening stock is zero, and gap minutes can be zero or positive. Okay, that is not the problem. I have the expected output table as well in the form of my code. So you can, I will put this in the description box again as well. You can run this just for your reference. Okay, for example, if you solve the question and then you want to check if the output is matching or not, then you can run this select query of this particular table to check if the solutions are matching or not. Okay. Now, with this, let's go to our PG admin and we will see how we will solve this question. Okay. Okay. So now here we are at our PG admin and we will now first see how the table looks like, right? So here I have run the select and select star statement here. Let's first look at one warehouse ID. With that, we will have the idea about how this table is structured, right? So for warehouse ID one, you can see we will go through this fast. Okay, we do not have to worry about a lot of other data. So for warehouse ID, we have 4 shifts, 4 different start times and end times, and opening stock and closing stock. Okay, these are the only 2 main columns that you are concerned as of now. Okay, so for shift ID one, you can see the closing stock is 100, but for shift ID 2, the opening stock is 95. And as per the rule, the closing stock of one shift should match with the opening stock of the next shift. Okay, but as you can see, there is a huge difference here of 5 units. Now, this is what the discrepancy is. This is what the question considers as a discrepancy, or specifically a handover discrepancy. Similarly, if you look for shift ID 2 closing stock and shift ID 3 opening stock, these two are same. So here we do not have any discrepancy. But for shift ID 3 and 4, you can see that there is a discrepancy of 10 units, which means that in shift IDs 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, like these two forms a pair, these two have the discrepancy and we need to find such discrepancies. Okay. Now, what we need here is for, if you remember the question, you can go back to the question and check what here we are talking about. Just for reference, I will show you. They are asking these many columns, okay, which is warehouse ID, outgoing shift ID, incoming shift ID, and various other columns. Okay, so we will shift to our PG admin and we will now see how we can tackle these. Okay, the first column that they're asking is warehouse ID, so we will first select that. Okay, now what they're asking next is the shift ID. Okay, the outgoing shift ID. Or rather, let's do one thing here. I will paste, I will take a minute here and paste all the columns that they're asking so that we have a reference to as to like which columns we need to add and what calculations we need to perform. Okay. So just wait a minute. Uh, okay, I'll copy this and then I will paste it here. Okay. So now we have all the columns that we need. Okay, let's increase the size. Good. Okay. So first, we can remove this. First, we need warehouse ID. We are done with this. Now, then the outgoing shift ID, the shift that closed. Okay. Now, for the shift that closed, how we will do this? We just need the shift ID, right? Because, for example, let's say if we are calculating for warehouse ID 1, okay, we need the first shift ID here, okay, which is the outgoing shift ID. Shift ID as outgoing shift ID. Now, incoming shift ID, which is we can let's remove these columns, right? So since we don't need these, incoming shift ID is the shift ID that opened next. Okay, so we need the next shift ID. Now, if you know the concepts of lead and lag, then you must have already identified that which window function that we need to use here. And if your answer is lead, then congratulations, your answer is correct. Why? Because we need the next shift ID, and lead brings the next shift ID to your current row. Okay. Now, if I, for example, if I apply lead to row shift ID 2, then it will shift the entire row to the first shift ID. Okay, so it will shift one row above. I hope you understood the concept of lead and lag, basically, specifically lead. So we will lead the shift ID by 1, and we have to write an over function here, partition by warehouse ID. Since we are concerned about individual warehouse only, and order by you can order by anything. I will order by shift ID as incoming shift ID. Okay, let's run this and see if this works or not. Shift, okay, shift ID. Okay. So here you can see we have gotten our output. For warehouse ID 1, we had these many shift IDs, and one and the next row has shifted to the previous row. Okay. And if there is no value, then it will come as null. Okay. And if you do not know, then in lead you can put another argument that if there is null value, then what to put. But in this question we do not want, so we will skip that. Now we are done with this. Closing stock. So closing stock. Okay, no changes here. Opening stock of the incoming shift ID of the incoming shift. So again we can use the lead function here. This time we will do opening stock over partition by, and this will be opening stock, right? Yes. So now we are done with these columns as well. We are now left with only 4 columns. Discrepancy, which is the difference between opening stock and closing stock. Okay. This is very simple, I guess. Since we have the opening stock here and we have the closing stock here, like this row gives us the opening stock. This is the closing stock. We will just subtract these 2 columns. Okay. Okay, so a slight change of background because my Mac was out of charge and this was really important. Otherwise, I would have to stop the video recording, and I didn't want to do that specifically. Okay, again, without wasting any time, let's jump back to our solving. We have to find the discrepancy, which is again difference between opening stock and closing stock. Okay, negative means stock is missing. That is not required. Okay, opening stock here we have. We will subtract it by closing stock, and boom, we have another column done. Discrepancy. Okay, we will remove these. Now gap minutes between shift end and the next shift start. Okay, now for this we have not uh, specifically calculated next shift timing. Okay, for example, you can see here we have find out the next shift ID, the incoming shift ID. Here we have find out the next closing stock, the next shift's opening stock. Okay, but for shift timing we have not done such a thing, but we will do the same thing, right? We will use the same concept of lead. We will lead the next shift start timing and subtract it with the shift end timing. Okay, but here we will use a function called as epoch, extract epoch. Okay, so let me first write the lead function here. Lead, we just need this only. So shift start. Okay, now we will subtract here with the shift end. Now, with this we will get the difference between timings. Okay. Now in Postgres, what you can do is if you want the difference between dates, you can just subtract date 1 minus date 2. Okay. If you have 2 date columns, you can just subtract both of them and you will get the dates. You can apply the function of extract date from or date part as well. Okay. But for timing, we use this function of extract epoch. Okay. So let me first write here. We write extract, then we write epoch from. Okay. Now, from extract epoch, what happens is this extracts all the seconds, like the total seconds, the difference in seconds. Okay. Now, since the difference is in seconds, okay, let me first write question enter here. Now, since the difference is in seconds, we will divide it by 60 to get the difference in minutes. Why? Because if you remember, in the column it is written that minutes, it is asking gap minutes. Okay. Since we want the answer to be in minutes, we will divide it by 60. Okay. And if I'm not wrong, let me round this as well, because there are chances that, something like this may appear. For example, if the gap is of 59 minutes, then something like 59.00000 may appear. Okay. Because what I've seen is when you do this kind of division, the exact value may appear, but the decimal values may become huge. So you want to remove the decimal values, right? You do not want that. So we'll use the round function here. Okay. Now, with this, we are done with this also. Now we need to label the discrepancy type. Okay, we didn't name this. One mistake. This is gap minutes, right? 60. We'll close the round as gap minutes. Okay. Now we don't need this. we need a discrepancy type. Okay, now where will we find the discrepancy? Here. Okay, so we will use a case when statement, since it is a if else type of statement here. Case when this function, so we put brackets here just for better readability, this is less than 0, then shortage, else surplus. uh, Else surplus. Okay, or you can rather write case, you can write two different cases here for less than 0 and greater than 0. Okay, now we will use and as, oh, I remove the, it was discrepancy type, right? The column name, yes, it was discrepancy type. Okay, now with this we have completed almost all the parts except we are left with this worst handover part. Now to calculate the worst handover we need the maximum absolute discrepancy, right? And since this is a group by function and aggregation function, we will need to use the group by clause here, and we cannot use this because we have selected multiple columns here. So we will, what we will do is we will create this as a CTE with CTE as, okay, and now we will let's remove this. Okay, and now we will calculate the worst handover here. Okay, we need all the columns here. Before that, let's see if this runs or not, since this is a long code here. Okay, so this is running and I hope it is matching with our answer. Okay, but let's see, like this shouldn't be a problem here, and I'm recording well, so that's good. uh, we need the worst handover, right? So what we can use is, we can use a case when statement, case when the maximum absolute discrepancy is less than equal to, or sorry, just equal to the absolute discrepancy of each row. So what we will do is, for the entire, for each warehouse ID, okay, what we will do is for each warehouse ID, we will run a window function. Okay, and for that particular warehouse ID, we will use a max aggregation plus window function. With this, what will happen is for each warehouse ID, we will get the maximum absolute discrepancy for that warehouse ID. Okay. After that, we will compare it with each row. Okay. So for example, we had 4 shifts, if you remember, in warehouse ID 1. For each warehouse ID 1, it will calculate the discrepancy of each row with the maximum of the entire warehouse ID 1. Okay. If it is same, then it will return yes. If not same, then it will return no. Okay. I have explained the code. If I will write it, then I guess you will understand what I'm trying to say here. Case when absolute discrepancy equal to max absolute discrepancy. Now we will use the window function here over partition by warehouse ID. Okay, I hope this much is clear to you guys. Then y else n and as this. And as worst handover from CT. Now with this, we have come to the end of our question. But if you think this, then you are wrong. Why? Because what happened? Syntax error at or near is worst handover. Line 20. Okay. Partition by warehouse ID. Um, what is the problem here? Is when absolute discrepancy less than equal to max absolute discrepancy. Discrepancy spelling is correct, right? Discrepancy. Okay, yes. Over partition by warehouse ID. Space required. Or if I have not, then y else n. Okay, okay, sorry, we do not need this. Okay, okay, sorry. Now it will work. Good. Now this works, but the only problem here is that we have null values here. Now what is the reason of null values here is that since like the last row will be empty, right? Since for every last row for each warehouse ID, there is no next row. Okay, for example, shift for warehouse ID 1, there are only 4 shifts, there is no fifth shift. So since there is no fifth shift, the value for the incoming shift ID will be null in case of outgoing shift ID 4. So we do not need these columns since it is not necessary. Plus, and also the discrepancy is null. We do not want that. Also, we do not want where the discrepancy is 0. Because if the discrepancy is 0, then this means that closing stock is equal to opening stock. And if you remember, then in our question, it was explicitly mentioned to remove out the cases where closing stock was equal to opening stock, right? So we will apply two where conditions here, where discrepancy not equal to 0. Now what this will do is it will remove all those values which are not 0. Okay, like these, it will keep only the negative and the positive values. Okay, and but not equal to 0 does not remove null values. Okay, this is very important in Postgres, that not equal to 0 does not mean it will remove null values as well. So we will have to explicitly mention this. Discrepancy is not null. Okay, now if you run this, with this we have reached to the end of our solution. Okay, and just for the sake of matching the, okay, we do not need this, just for the sake of matching this with the, you know, output, I will run the output statement here. Select from Q4 output. Okay, you can see the output is same except this n. I think it is, in my case it is in small case. You can keep it in large case as well. Okay, you can see that all the rows will be matching in this case. And with this we have come to the end of our solution. If you like my video, and if you like my video, I would highly request you to throw up a thumbs up and subscribe this channel so that you can watch this amazing content again in future. Also share this video with your friends who are practicing SQL questions or are in the lookout of practicing really high level SQL questions for free, and they just want to improve their problem solving skills, or they are preparing for their data interviews. And at the end, I would request you to also comment your feedbacks in the comment section so that I get an idea about how you like this video, what changes I can make. And also each comment that you give me acts as a motivation for me to bring much better videos, to bring better content than before. Okay, so with this, we end our video, and thank you guys for watching this video and happy learning.